Okay, I'm here today with Jnanamitra. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. And I'm going to be asking some questions about what led you to Ipswich Buddhist Centre, your role within that. And firstly, I'd like to ask you about your name and what it means.
Okay, so my name is Jnanamitra, and that's a combination of Jnana and Mitra. So it's Jnana with a J, so it's Jnana, which is a word for knowledge or wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And Mitra means friend, so the name means sort of friend of wisdom. And as I say, you could have knocked me down with a feather when I was given that name. It was the last sort of name I was expecting. And the names are a kind of a symbol that you grow into.
Yeah.
So that's yes.
Ah.
That's it. It means friend of wisdom.
Okay. So obviously, what is your role in the Ipswich Buddhist Centre now and has been?
Well, my role at the moment is how would I describe it? I'm a member of the council. I'm a sort of founder member of the centre in Ipswich, and I'm more or less mostly there as a preceptor, so I can ordain people. So my role mostly is there as a private preceptor. So I'm there to sort of meet up with people. I do less direct teaching these days. I mainly just do one Mitra study group on a Friday morning. And I used to be doing the Sangha night, which finished last autumn. So, and I do some day events, and I'm involved with the Jewel Quest project for women training for ordination. Yeah.
Oh. So what led you to Ipswich? What did you find when you got here?
Basically, after I was ordained, I was based in London, and there wasn't very much for me to do. There were a lot of order members down there, but I'd already made contact with Ipswich, and I knew Sadharaja very well. He was a good friend, and a vacancy had come up in the Evolution gift shop, and I wanted something to do, and I needed a livelihood as well. So I just came up here like a shot, and I wanted a pioneering project, to be involved in. And it certainly was when I first arrived. We had a shop, but very little else. We had a small group that met once a week, and a lot of the people in that group, some of them were like relatives and stuff like that. So it was quite intimate. We'd have roomfuls of 8 or 9 people at the most back then. So yeah, it was very early days, but a lot of the people were involved in running the shop, in the shop team.
And how many of those 8 or 9 people were ordained? Were they?
No, it was just me and Sadharaja.
Right, and so the rest were?
The rest were mitras, and some were mitras training for ordination, or not at all. Or they were just our friends.
And so that's what led to the Ipswich Centre in the thoroughfare.
Yes, so that was a few years later. So that probably took 3 or 4 years before we opened the centre in the thoroughfare, and we were able to open that purely on the basis the Sangha itself had grown. I really enjoyed doing that 2 nights a week, and also meeting up with people and so on. Sadharaja had mostly been involved in Colchester. He travelled every week down to Colchester to help get activities going there, and so Ipswich was grown enough as a Sangha. But also we'd had some profits from the shop, which we were able to plough into being able to pay the rent at the premises above the shop in the thoroughfare, which is a really nice space. Which was it used to be a pub. Those set of buildings which are still there. There used to be a pub called the King's Arms, and the upper rooms were the function rooms.
Right.
And so they had a kind of elegance to them, big sash windows, bay window, and they naturally converted into a really nice reception room and a shrine room. Which was really good. The access to it was a bit awkward. You had to come out through a long downstairs dark corridor and then up a long staircase. And it was even more awkward when we stuck a stair lift on it, which took up most of the staircase. So.
Yeah. Ah, interesting. So you were ordained before you came to Ipswich?
Yes, I was. Yes. Yeah. I'd only just been ordained. I was a year old.
Yeah. So how long did that process of ordination take from just...
For me, I became more... I date my serious involvement from the autumn of 1980. I think I asked for ordination in 1983, and I was finally ordained in in 91.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a long process.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon that period was because from 83 onwards, there was Sangharajta had ceased to do personal ordinations,
mm-hmm.
and a new ordination process had got established with
mm-hmm.
a lot more training. And also because I wasn't so straightforwardly involved in a residential community or a right livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
I was working and had a mortgage and so on, so it made it much more difficult.
So you talk about Sangharajta, he's the founder of the Triratna order.
Yes.
What attracted you to that order in particular?
Well, it was really that I have to sort of go back a bit further. So my very first involvement was in 1977. I only knew that because I have an entry in a diary which gives the date of January the 17th, 1977. And I'd been given for Christmas a book called The Survival Guide to London.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a write-up of a number of places you could go to learn meditation. And the cheapest by far was a Sunday afternoon class being run at a centre which is long since demolished in Archway, in North London.
Yeah.
And it was free, so it really scored. And also I'd had a friend who went along.
Yeah.
So it always makes a difference when you know somebody who's really been. And a lot of my other friends had done TM and other things like that. I just wanted to learn to meditate, and I went along and did my level best to avoid all the overtures of friendship. And avoided the talks and everything. I just wanted to learn to meditate and go, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
But it was really when I came back again more seriously in the autumn of 1980, I came back to a Sangha Day festival, and I was just overwhelmed by the atmosphere of Sangha.
Yeah.
And I thought, these are the people I want to spend my life with.
Yeah. Fascinating. So Sangharajta, what was your relationship to him?
I would say that at that point he was vanishingly distant.
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of him being the founder,
mm-hmm.
and I was aware of him having given all the talks.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when I was coming along in 1977, that's the class would consist of a meditation session followed by a taped lecture.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, I'd just come from doing sessions with Bhagwan Shri Rajneesh's followers, where they did exactly the same thing.
Right.
They'd have a taped lecture. And there I just felt very cynical about what they were actually doing and the effect it had. So that path, I wasn't particularly interested in that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
It was only really when my own meditation practice revealed, in a way, a level of awareness that I'd never had before, that I realised, I've got to take this seriously. I've got to study more about the Dharma and the Buddhist side of it. But even then, the fact that all came from Sangharajta was slightly, he was a distant figure.
Mm-hmm.
It was more the people I was actually in contact with, the order members I was actually in contact with, that was important. The fact that they were growing as individuals, and I could see that. Yeah. I could see that the Dharma practice worked for them. Mm-hmm. It wasn't all about the teacher.
So then we talked about the opening of the first Ipswich Buddhist Centre in the thoroughfare, and then it moved to where it is currently.
Where it is today, yes.
What do you think the impact of that centre has on the town of Ipswich?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I would say that we punch above our weight. It's a term I've used, and that I did for a while. One of my wonderful jobs I had, was a part-time interfaith worker, and I'd come across people all over the place who'd been to the Buddhist Centre, and they'd been to some introductory classes, or they'd done a course, and they'd learned the Metta Bhavana. They learned the mindfulness of breathing, and it just seemed to have an effect. So it was as if we were having this ripple effect throughout Ipswich, far wider than the core community there. And that gave me a lot of confidence in what we do. I think what we do really, really well. So
And how is the centre run structurally, financially? How is the day-to-day running of the centre? What is it?
Well, I know it's always run off people's generosity, and there's always been enough. So right from when I first came along, when we were renting rooms, it was very quickly apparent that there was always enough dana to pay the room rent and cost of any publicity and all the rest of it. But there was rarely enough there to pay any more than that. So the centre currently doesn't support anybody. It does cover some of the basic expenses and some retreats and things like that, but it's still very much simply the dana that comes in pays for the cost of the building. I think that's an important principle, that the order members, there's no, we're not raising lots of money to support our most famous order member.
Yeah.
We're individually a bit replaceable. I really like that it's not down to personality.
That it can change.
Yes, that each of us can come in and help run a class, and we're sort of, it's nothing to do with a particular ego or personality like that. Although, again, dare say some people have their favourites within that. So.
And what are your hopes for the future of the centre? Where do you see it, or where do you hope for it to?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I suppose I feel very proud of the fact and very satisfied with having been involved in establishing it and founding it. That feels like a life worthwhile spent, a life well spent to have done that. So I'm a little bit less bothered about where it goes from here, because it's very well established. It meets a real need in Ipswich, which will continue. It's about to expand. I suppose beyond that, I would like to see some more residential communities coming together. I think it's a great shame that we lost our Right Livelihood business, which was the gift shop, which did run for 25 years and only really ceased because that particular line of business no longer worked. And also finding people who wanted to work like that was increasingly difficult. But we did have a men's community. But these things often have a life of their own, and eventually it ceased to be viable. But it did provide the money to buy the centre. Oh,
I see. So the men's community actually provided the money to actually then purchase the first centre.
Yes. Well, the timing worked really well. That it was declining just at the point when the opportunity to buy the current place came up. And that gave us the deposit, basically.
Well, thank you for talking to me today
about
the Ipswich Buddhist Centre. And if anyone would like some more information, then contact the website.